I'm Sam Otten, and with me is Jason Book. And in this video, we're going to be running through the characters of the forthcoming Star Wars The Force Awakens, Episode 7, directed by J.J. Abrams. We're starting to get excited about this movie. It's hard to believe it's actually just a few months away. What we'll do is talk about some of the stuff that we know about the characters, and we really don't know a lot about them. They've done a pretty solid job of keeping things under wraps and releasing images, but not really giving a lot of the plot or the way that the characters are going to flow through the plot. So this will be some speculation, some of our ideas, most of it totally unconfirmed, so there's not really spoilers here. We're just going to be talking through it. So ready to do this, Jason?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
All right, great. So let's start with these two new characters, Finn and Rey. And they've cast, relatively unknown actors and actresses to play this part, kind of in the Star Wars tradition of doing that. So what are your thoughts about what Finn and Rey might be doing and how they might kind of fit into The Force Awakens?
Well, we've definitely seen more kind of imagery with Finn that's interesting because we've got, shots of him in a stormtrooper outfit was actually the first shot of the whole teaser and everything of the new trilogy. Mm-hmm. Then we've got, stills and kind of behind the scenes stuff where it shows him in kind of like a regular kind of outfit, like almost like Luke would be wearing at the end of Star Wars, and with a lightsaber apparently too. So it sounds like his character's got a really interesting arc. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a character that starts out as a bad guy and ends up being a good guy, which, definitely ties in with the themes of Star Wars with the good and evil. And then as far as Rey, she seems to kind of have that Tatooine type feel to her, but obviously I think it's a different planet that they mentioned. And you see her on the speeder and getting into adventures and whatnot. But other than that, there's really not a lot to tell. I don't know if she's got a direct tie to Leia or Han or anything like that, but definitely a lot more ways to go with her character, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it'll be nice that they might be this kind of fresh blood that the audience can follow into the whole story. Yeah. But yeah, I agree with you that, Rey to me is still kind of a mystery. And when Finn first popped up, a lot of people were saying, is he dressed up as a stormtrooper or is he actually a stormtrooper?
Yeah.
Because there is, precedent in Star Wars to be dressing up to go incognito or to try to slip into stuff dressed as stormtroopers. Happened in Episode 4 and Episode 6 at least.
Yeah.
But yeah, now that we've seen other stuff, I'm tending to think that he was a stormtrooper and maybe he, leaves and doesn't do that. And I don't know, it's somewhere along the way we get, different kinds of stormtroopers and stuff, not just clones and everything, obviously.
Yeah, it would be something kind of different for the Star Wars series, I think, if they went that route.
Yeah, and there's the new picture from Entertainment Weekly where he's kind of coming around the wreckage of a TIE fighter.
Right.
And so, is he a stormtrooper that was actually riding in that TIE fighter or riding in one along with it? Or is he doing something else and did he shoot it down? I don't know at what point. But because, like you said, we've seen Finn in a lot of different situations, I kind of think he's going to be maybe the major character that we're kind of following through a lot of the story.
Yeah, that sounds like it would hold a lot of weight. It sounds like it just sounds like we could be completely wrong, but when you say it out loud, it kind of makes for an interesting story, right?
Mm-hmm. And then, with Rey, there's questions around a lot of characters. Are they related to some of the, main characters from the original trilogy? So I don't know about Rey or not. Right. But this other one, there's lots of talk about, which is Kylo Ren, who is, possibly Sith, since he has a red lightsaber. He's got the hilted lightsaber, which showed up in a big way in the early trailer.
Yeah.
So played by Adam Driver, he got to be the cover shot of the Entertainment Weekly issue. Kylo Ren, as far as I understand it, Ren is not a name. It's actually more of a title, and it's related to these Knights of Ren, which, as far as I know, we don't really know exactly what the Knights of Ren are. But what are your general thoughts about Kylo Ren as a character?
Well, the stuff I've read about it basically says he's like a huge Darth Vader fanboy. He's obviously that one shot in the trailer, if that's him holding that kind of burnt Vader helmet, would kind of go a long way to showing that he's like really obsessed with Vader and almost like worships it and wants to bring that back. So that's kind of a storyline that just seems like it's really, goes with Star Wars and it would make a lot of sense. I like what I've seen so far. I'd like to see some more of the character in some not so quick shots. And also the voice is something I really need to hear. Vader had such an iconic voice. Darth Maul had a great voice. Even General Grievous had a cool voice. Like, it's, kind of a Star Wars tradition to be a real badass villain. You've got to have the whole package. So
Yeah.
like we said before when we first watched the trailers, some of it I wait and see until I get some more footage.
Darth Maul had a cool voice, but like almost no lines at all.
That's true. Yeah, he was more about the action. Yeah.
But I think I think you're onto something cool here, and if it is the Darth Vader worshiper kind of thing, because what I think would be really interesting is to have Kylo Ren be a self-taught Sith, because that's really a new direction for the Star Wars universe, because there's always this apprentice model.
That's right. Even Luke was like a half taught by Yoda and things like that.
Yeah, but there's always this sense of a master and apprentice, and there's this relationship, and it's so important. And to have someone who doesn't have a master, doesn't have that relationship, but is like maybe isolated, maybe a little bit mentally disturbed, and then the fact that he's by himself maybe plays up that mental disturbedness even further.
Yeah.
And I think it would just be very unique to have a character. He might have flaws in his force powers because he's self-taught. So maybe he has some force capabilities, but they're not very refined, and he's, maybe just has a different style because he is self-taught. I think that could be really cool. A new way to explore a force character.
Yeah, lots of potential there, right? Like, we don't know what's going to happen with his connection with the new characters or the old characters from the trilogy. So, visually and what I've seen so far, they're off on the right track with the character, that's for sure.
Yeah, and in terms of if he has the force powers, J.J. Abrams, as my understanding is, J.J. Abrams was asked about the midichlorians, and J.J. thought about it for a second and said, like, no, they're not mentioned in the movie at all.
That's right.
So it could just be more, he has force connections, but not a midichlorian count mentioned.
Yeah, the less of that, the better. I think he's definitely got some sort of force powers, because there's that one quick shot in the trailer where he turns around quick with his hand and he does that classic kind of Star Wars push people away thing or whatever. So
Yep. So next up we have Poe Dameron, who is the X-Wing pilot played by Oscar Isaac. So thoughts on this character? We've seen him fly in X-Wings in the trailers, and we got a shot now of him, in his X-Wing, outfit. So what do you think about him?
He could be just kind of the latest incarnation of the long line of the X-Wing pilots. I don't know why, though. I kind of get a vibe that he might be a cross between like that kind of brash X-Wing pilot like Luke was, but maybe a little bit more seasoned like Han Solo as well, because he kind of is a really good actor that way. I've seen him in a lot of different movies, and he really can play kind of a cool, laid-back guy, but be intense when he wants to be. So I wouldn't be surprised if for this trilogy he kind of has that Han Solo vibe.
Yeah, I got a feeling of that too from something in the Entertainment Weekly article where it's maybe said something like, that he's very confident or very cocky or something like that. So, and I think that's expected in a Star Wars universe, to have somebody that's representing that kind of cocky swagger, and then somebody else that takes on some different parts of it. So I think that'll be good, and definitely looking forward to the X-Wing action. They showed that in the trailers, and that stuff looks like it's going to play off pretty good and look pretty good visually.
Very cool. Yeah, different things like showing them on the water and in the desert and stuff. That's awesome.
Yeah, land-based stuff with the X-Wing, not just space-based. So
yeah, very cool.
So Captain Phasma, it's a female in a Stormtrooper outfit. It's like the silver or the chrome Stormtrooper outfit. So what do you think about her?
Well, when I heard it was this character that she's in Game of Thrones, she's like a tall, blonde woman, I think. It's really cool. They haven't really shown that in the trailer to kind of give some more depth to what's going on while we've seen her shots of the character walking around. So it could be something where they're really trying to, show you that there is a bit more diversity in Star Wars, because when it was first announced, they were kind of concerned. People were saying, why is there only one female character? So I like that they have this. Hopefully it's not just quick shots and not a lot going on with the character, because then why have it matter that it is a female at all? So I'd like to see them do some more with it, and obviously maybe she's like the kind of top TIE fighter pilot or something in the new Imperial Army. So it's got a lot of potential. It just depends how much screen time they give her, I think.
Yeah, and my big question is like related to what you're saying, which is, what are they going to do with her character when she has her helmet off? Like, I feel like she needs to have the helmet off for scenes.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it could just be a stunt person doing everything. But I also feel like we want to connect with that character, whether she's a good guy or a bad guy, probably bad guy, but I still want to connect or just know what that character is. So I feel like we need those scenes with the helmet off. And then my question is, what are those scenes? Is she working underneath one of these other kind of leaders. Where does she fit into the Fallen Empire or maybe the Fractured Empire?
Yeah,
So,
give it like some reason for why this character is important, and obviously maybe a little bit more shades of gray with being a villain in the new
mhm.
Star Wars universe. Like it maybe kind of what we talked about with the Kylo Ren and stuff. Maybe he wasn't always all bad, or with Finn, you never know, right?
Yeah, I think they're setting it up to have more shades of gray for the villain side because if the Empire is fractured, that's already breaking it up where it's not just a good and a bad. It's like, oh
That's
no,
right.
you have more complexity. And
Yeah.
I think you could follow that with the characters too. You could have more complexity for the characters. And even for the villains, have them have to make more decisions than just, oh, I'm going to blow up Alderaan or I'm going to be
Yeah.
bad because I'm bad.
It
Obviously,
makes it a
Darth
lot more
Vader had that
realistic, right?
arc, but a lot of the other ones were just kind of villainous straight up.
Yeah, it makes it a lot more realistic in this day and age, I think.
Yeah. So speaking of the villains or the bad side of thing, we got this fractured empire. So real quickly, we have Supreme Leader Snoke, who's going to be played by Andy Serkis. But as far as I know, we haven't seen anything like seen a visual of that character.
Right.
And we have General Hux, who we have seen a visual in the Entertainment Weekly story. But other than that visual, I don't know much about this character. So thoughts on Supreme Leader Snoke, General Hux, and then we have also Max van Sydow. The actor
Ooh.
is playing somebody, but I don't know who. I feel like though Max van Sydow is a good type of actor to have for some sort of imperial officer or some sort of villain. So I'm
True.
wondering about all three of those.
Yeah. Well, actually, let's start with the Max von Sydow character. I mean, he's pretty old now. So if I had
Hmm.
to guess, maybe, and because they don't want it to be all CG, like you had what's his name, Count Dooku in the CG lightsaber fights. Those were awful. I think Max von Sydow could almost play like an emperor type character. They want it to feel different, but maybe some sort of overseer character.
Hmm.
As far as the Snoke character, the one that Andy Serkis is playing, we know he's the master of motion cap.
Hmm.
So maybe to make this version of Star Wars different, maybe it's going to be a high-ranking, imperial, leader in one of the factions that he is an alien and not just a straight-up guy in a suit or a guy in a
Yeah.
stormtrooper outfit. And then as far as the other guy goes, he just kind of looks like kind of a Grand Moff type character or one of those imperial officers, and we don't really know a lot about him so far.
I like your hypothesis a lot because General Hux is a very clear human in an imperial suit,
Yeah,
and then I think that would play off. It would contrast nicely with Andy Serkis as a very obvious alien. But
yeah,
both of them
totally.
are maybe like jostling for power, or they're just kind of playing off each other to see who's the top boss in this fractured empire. So
And I
yeah, I think
still want
that's
to
a cool
know.
idea.
I still want to know what that voice was in the first trailer with the dark and the light. I swear it sounded like Benedict Cumberbatch, and I don't know which character that was, but it sounded really cool.
Yeah, I think that might have eventually gotten confirmed that it was Andy Serkis.
Oh, right, kind of doing
Yeah,
an
yeah,
impression of him.
yeah.
So there you go.
Yeah, so you could go back now and try to think about your hypothesis about the alien Andy Serkis and see if that would fit.
Yeah,
But so
yeah.
he's supreme leader, so he's definitely one of the higher ups, maybe in the First Order or I don't know the different factions of the Empire. So
Yeah.
very cool. So we're starting to see, we've seen these visual shots of characters, but in terms of the plot, it's still basically a mystery, an entire mystery. So I think this Star Wars Force Awakens have had this marketing plan in place, and I think maybe in September onward they might start revealing more about the plot. I don't think that they'll make the plot a complete mystery all the way up to the release date. That just seems like taking it a bit too far.
Yeah.
But they still have several months, so I'm betting they have like a fall game plan. So right now we've got a nice list of characters to think about, and in the next few months we might get some plot points to think about.
Yeah, I mean, they've been really doing a good job kind of harkening back to the old school ways of movie trailers and whatnot. They're not putting out too much. So, I'd like to see more, but I'd like them to keep some secrecy because really we're so close. When you said that, I can't believe it's only a few months away and we're seeing another Star Wars trilogy already. It's crazy.
Yeah, and I do wonder too, like if this is going to be just a standalone story or if it's just going to be part one of a larger story. I think, the tradition is more to have a standalone story to kick things off, and I think a lot of successful trilogies do that rather
Yeah.
than trying to have it just be part one. I think they will try to tell something start to finish, but then have a clear follow up that needs to happen in the second one. So
Yeah, like I think it'll have some threads it'll continue, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see if they're really trying to make it feel like that first Star Wars movie where it's got that sense of everything you want in there, action, adventure, and something for everyone. And that's what the prequels were missing.
All right, well, we didn't hit out on any of the old characters coming back, but we could do a whole nother video on that if we had time. So
Yeah, we could.